Yesterday, it seemed that the issues surrounding the bus industry had been resolved. This is after the Ministry of Transport issued a press release stating that the BBOC had been offered and accepted 9 scheduled runs on the Western Zone. Today, however, all parties are still not happy, as it appears to make room for the BBOC runs had to be taken away from other operators. It was expected that the runs would be taken away from newest bus line on the route, West Line. However, according to the president of the Belizean Bus Association, Thomas Shah, that was not the case. The runs were taken away from Gera's bus line. Shah says they need to go back to the table and revisit the schedule for all involved.
In yesterday's meeting with the BBOC, I asked the minister what impact would it have in the West, or who would be willing to give up their runs to accommodate BBOC, and he said that DNA gave up 2 runs and Gera gave up 2 runs. But seeing that Mr. Gera is part of our association, actually Mr. Gera was in Belmopan, but he wasn't allowed entrance into that meeting. When he was going in, the minister told him that he couldn't enter. So based on that, I had to represent them, and I said, well, he said that 2 runs was pulled from Mr. Gera. They surrendered 2 runs. After that meeting, I then called Mr. Gera and asked him if he was willing to forfeit any runs. He said, Mr. Shaw, I'm not aware of that. He said, it's the first I'm hearing anything. I said, I'm not willing to give up any, forfeit no runs. If anything should be forfeited, he said it's the West Line should forfeit whatever runs they have.
A letter which was delivered to Gera's bus owner stated that 4 runs was revoked to accommodate BBOC. This, according to the Transport Department, was approved by the parties involved. Contrary to the alleged approval, Shah says several operators were not allowed in the meeting.
He said, Mr. Shah, none of my brother or sisters or uncle didn't forfeit no runs. As a matter of fact, I'm not willing to give up anything. He said, I would like more runs if you're supposed to ask. He even went on to have his secretary call me and get the information, and they are addressing a letter to the BBA with all the signatures from his brothers and uncles that they are not in agreement with it and they're not willing to forfeit no runs. I then called Dorita, which is the owner of DNE, and I asked her if she was aware of what was taking place. And what I'm saying is not a lie. Ms. Dorita told me that she is not aware of that, and then they're not willing to forfeit no runs. And if BBOC are supposed to start these runs tomorrow, then I see another problem escalating in the West.
Standing firm in solidarity is the Citizens Organized for Liberty Through Action, COLA. Vice President Giovanni Brackett says the government is implementing a divide-and-conquer strategy.
They are selecting who they want to negotiate with. Maybe you could call it the weaker links they want to discuss with. So they pull aside Mr. Fraser, talk to Mr. Tone, who does not even have a legal entity to represent any bus operator, and they try to separate. And so one day they want to discuss one issue, then the next day they put off another issue. And that's why we are at the point where we are, because the government is not negotiating on behalf of a good faith strategy. What they are doing is trying to cover up and butt up. If you look at how they are negotiating, they are taking away runs from DNE and other bus operators, but they're not touching the West Line operators movement, because what you have to question, what is it that Mr. Chuk from West Line has given or done for the government so much that this man cannot be removed?
Shah says all they are asking is for proper consultation with a 60-day moratorium. Whether this will play out in another halt of bus operations on the highways soon is not yet known. Reporting for Love News, I am Maria Novella.